It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and other comics from all over. We came to Japan before the virus flight cancellations to see a bar hostess, but she's got it. Oh baby, she's got it. She's got fever. She's got symptoms. She's a virus. The Talk Funny podcast from NagoyaRadio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Mark Bailey and Mike Miller is here.
Good to be back.
On Talk Funny. Mera nam Mark Hey. Usaka nam Mike Hey. Talk Funny Hey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mark.
That's for our
good Hindi.
Our listeners. Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah, thank you to all our listeners in India. We appreciate you guys.
Namaste, which is, but I mean, usually in Japan, when I get screamed at uni, I'll say, not my mistake. But it's in Hindi, it's Namaste. We got an episode, not this time, but in the near future, we need to do one just on language tips.
Yeah.
And Japanese and stuff like that.
That's a good idea.
There's a lot of puns you could do in Japanese.
Oh, yeah, tons of puns. Tons of puns.
That's a preview.
Foreshadowing.
My autistic student afterwards, when I did that joke in class, I did dajare yodare nadare. So basically, the first word means pun, and the second word means drool. The third word means avalanche. Avalanche, right? So afterwards, after class, the autistic guy comes up and he goes, "Those aren't the words to that song." Thank you, Captain Obvious. Thank you, Captain Autism.
Have you ever heard of the word parodies?
I'm not really a teacher.
And you're not really succeeding in this class. You're not really going to pass.
So we mentioned off mic about, I just wanted to just shout out to, I don't think he's listening, but maybe he will now, Nate Bargatze. I really like him, a comic who, I guess it was last year, he did Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. And you saw his monologue.
I saw a couple of his sketches on Saturday Night Live. I was like, who is this guy? It's actually funny for once.
Yeah, he's a weird, I don't even know what that name origin is, but he's like a Tennessee guy, but it's like Tennessee meets Mitch Hedberg kind of thing. He's got a lot of one-liners. Mm-hmm. He's got a good one. He didn't do it on that one, but he's got a good stand-up special on Netflix where he was talking to his wife, see if I could do it justice, and he said, "I know you're taking a flight today with the kids. Mm-hmm. What time are you leaving? And maybe I can go help you with the bags." She goes, "Well, I have to get up at 6 a.m., and then we're going to get in the car at 7 a.m. And he goes, "So what did you think I meant when I said, when are you leaving?" "I'm talking about the flight." Yeah. And he had another one, and he said, "We don't agree on what the next exit means." "Okay, do I do this exit? Tell me now. This exit? No, next exit. You passed it. No, you said the next exit. No, I said next exit. Not the next exit."
Marriage, I'll tell you.
And then I've got, sorry, no offense, but a Canadian coworker who doesn't get jokes. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, you could just say the number of the exit." And I said, "But that's not funny, is it, Douglas? That's not funny, Doug."
I know who you're talking about. And I agree.
It's also like with Louis C.K.'s joke when he was on The Guys Got Fired. You know him.
Guy who got fired in radio.
Two guys. I'll take that category for $100. I'm gonna put
is it Cumia? Anthony
yeah,
Cumia?
Cumia, yeah. So what are the Opie and Anthony?
Opie and Anthony, yeah. Cumia had like a meltdown or something in New York.
So the Opie and Anthony story is Louis C.K. called in, and he goes, "We're taking calls from New York. Louis on the line. They don't know who he was. Mm-hmm. They know who Louis C.K. is, but he goes, 'Hey, it's Louis.'
Yeah.
They said, 'Hey, Louis, what do you do for a living?' He goes, 'Well, that's debatable.' And he goes, 'Well, just tell us, man.' He goes, 'Well, I thought you knew what I did.' Is that a dig? So, well, do I know you?" And he goes, "It's Louis." "Louis who?" "Louis C.K. I've been on your show 20 times.
They must have fired their call screener after that, yeah.
So the other joke is Louis C.K. said he hates touring because he has to do the morning radio shows. All comics hate that.
Right, because you got to do the show at night, and then you got to do the morning show.
You got to get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, and you got to, how many radio stations you got to talk to? Like five
yeah,
radio stations
5,
kind of thing?
And you have to keep doing your bits.
Yeah.
Then you're giving away your material for free. Why should I come see it? I never heard your best bits.
Exactly.
It's the Morning Zoo Crew.
Yeah.
And when I did it here, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, Mike, but I was in radio.
What? you never talk about that,
Ben
Mark.
Shapiro's wife is a doctor also. Did
what?
You know that? He never talks about it.
Never talks about it at all.
So one of my friends said they're going to get me a T-shirt that says that. I used to be a radio. And on the back, it's going to say Ben Shapiro's wife is a doctor.
And the young kids will come up to you in university and they'll go, "What's radio?"
And he talks really fast, and and everything. You know, it's really well. So if you ever want to have an aneurysm, listen to him on 2 times speed, right, on the podcast.
I do prefer you as a radio DJ though, Mark, because unlike the radio DJs in Japan, you don't interrupt songs every 5 minutes with inane chatter.
Yeah. When I came here, there was only one radio station. It was FM Aichi, and they would play "Yesterday" by the Beatles and talk all over the song.
Oh my God!
And DJs, I'm sure you know this much about radio. Here's Fleetwood Mac. Dun, 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 don't stop believing on Zip FM. Don't stop believing about tomorrow. Right? It's called hitting the post. When the singer starts singing, shut the hell up. And they just talked all over it. It's like, and then they're explaining who the Beatles are in Japanese.
Like you need to explain that in
Yesterday,
Japan.
I mean, when you probably didn't come as early as I did. When I came here, if you went to karaoke, it was My Way and Yesterday. That was it.
My Way, Yesterday, and
In
then
English.
there was not on top of the world. There was a lot of Carpenters. I remember.
Yeah,
on
that's
karaoke.
even later.
That's a little later. But John Denver as well. What's West Virginia?
Yeah,
Country Roads. That was
also later.
Okay,
but
so it was
there
just
three.
Sinatra. Just
there was
Sinatra.
three. It
English
was Sinatra.
karaoke songs. Yeah.
It was My Way. It was, and I memorized the words. Yesterday by the Beatles.
Well, you have to because it's all in katakana. Like they're showing you katakana underneath the song, and you're like, I don't remember this
And the
song.
third one was an Elvis Presley song I had never heard of before. Choo choo train coming down the tracks, never coming back. It was a Boney M song.
Oh, really?
That Elvis covered. I never heard of it.
Karaoke back in the days was really weird because there was such a bizarre selection of songs. Like artists you never heard of, they would have their whole catalog, and other artists, they're well known, they didn't have any of their songs.
Well, like Deep Purple was super famous here. They're moderately famous in the States, and in the UK they're pretty famous, but that's the only band they knew here, Deep Purple for rock. And so all the bands copied them.
Big into prog rock.
So Steve and I, we went to Fukuoka one time for that infamous show. You never saw us.
We never talked about that show, Mark. I think we should talk about that in an upcoming podcast.
Okay, you never saw us, and nobody did, actually. But not even the people who were playing.
So you're saying it was a regular Nagoya comedy show?
Yeah, it's kind of like, you'd feel right at home
Exactly.
if you were there. Yeah, we had a guy who showed up. He will remain nameless. He showed up, and
you know who you are.
A comic that he liked wasn't coming. That was Bobby Judo wasn't coming, but he was supposed to. Which we love Bobby.
Bobby Judo's a very funny guy.
We love him.
I recommend. Just going on a bit of a tangent, if you ever get a chance to watch the roasts, the Tokyo Comedy Store roasts, he does an awesome roast where it's like your city against the other city. It's like Tokyo versus Fukuoka, and Bobby Judo just kills. It was so perfect.
He's got the jaded alcoholic long timers. Got that down perfect.
Wow.
He's got a lot of
jabs.
I'm
I'm working towards that right now.
He's got jabs about that. So quickly at Fukuoka, Bobby Judo was the favorite comic of another comic who invited us. One of the comics that invited us. The comic that invited us didn't show up. And then the other comic that we knew was supposed to be there, he showed up. Where's Bobby Judo? Well, he's not coming today, bartender said. So he left. So they told Steve and I, when we first got there, another guy who will remain, Riverboat Cruise.
Riverboat Cruise. That's all water under the bridge. Under the bridge, right?
We will ignore that bridge when we get to it. Just like Ted Kennedy will drive off of that bridge when we get to it. But anyway, he said, stage time is precious in Fukuoka.
Yeah.
So I can give you 5 minutes.
Precious.
I can give you 5 minutes. And I said, can I bring my colleague, Steve? He's been doing comedy for 9 years. So he's done 9 shows.
We love you, Steve.
We love you, Steve.
We're kidding.
He's not going to hear this.
We don't listen to our podcast.
His wife won't let him.
Even Timmy was like, the other day, he was like, I was listening to the podcast. It's pretty good, guy. And he's like, yeah, we've been doing it for 5 years now?
Oh, 7 years.
7 years
And
we've been doing this.
Timmy was like,
he was never listening.
you guys were talking about, were you talking about me? We've been talking about you for 7 years.
I don't think Gary has found out yet.
To finish the Fukuoka story, so that comic didn't show up, and then the one that invited us and said, you only have 5 minutes, I said, I bring my colleague, and he goes, then you get 2.5, and he gets 2.5, and don't go over. I told Steve, and we practiced, we timed each other. We got there, and we're the only ones on stage.
Oh, my God.
And so I asked the bartender, he goes, well, it's a 2-hour show, so I don't know, do as long as you want. It was me and him and a guy from New Zealand.
Jeez.
Me and Steve and a guy from New Zealand.
Walk into a bar.
All the headliners. Tyler something. He's a nice guy. Shout out to Tyler. He was very cool. And Steve and I'm like, well, so what? How much time do we have? The bartender said, what do you want? 20 minutes? 40 minutes? I said, can I have 40 minutes?
Comics in New York are right now are going, oh, where's this place? I want to go.
Comics in Tokyo are like, you get 40 minutes? You mean 4, right? 4? 40.
Here's what you have to understand about that situation. You're going to have an audience of maybe 2 or 3 people, so...
So our audience was only the other comic that was there.
Yeah.
And the bartender.
So if you want a responsive audience, pick an audience filled with comics that just sit there like looking at you like, just like, oh, that was an interesting bit.
Yeah.
Perfect audience.
So that's our Fukuoka story.
Well, and I was told that this Fukuoka had this comedy scene, and they were packing them in, and there was a big thing going on there. And it turns out there was nothing like that.
That must have been
There was nothing going
Photoshopped.
on. It must have been hype. Because here's the thing, for those of you guys who are, most of you probably don't know where Fukuoka is. It's quite far from Nagoya. It's like 4 hours on the bullet train, 5 hours? And it's a lot. It's very expensive to go there. It's like, $200 U.S. at least to take the boat train down there. $300.
We got a hotel there.
And they got a hotel. They spent all this money going down there.
6 hours or something, right?
6 hours. It's way at the other end of Japan. And they spent all that money to go down there, and then there's no show. Like, it's insane. At least when you go to Tokyo, there's people, there's going to be a show. You might not be in it, but there's going to be a show.
I should have known that was photoshopped because you could see the sky tree in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Because they have a large English-speaking population.
It's a Tokyo landmark. That sky tree.
Sky tree. I've never been to the top. Have you?
No, but the hotel near there. There's a hotel near there. Very cheap. I can't remember
really?
the name
I
of
should
it.
stay there.
It might be Appa. I'm not sure. The reason I thought of Fukuoka is that talking about Deep Purple, Steve and I went to lunch during that visit at the Hard Rock Cafe, and they're playing this band called Loudness. Do you know them?
I think I know a little bit.
They are the Deep Purple of Japan. They are
literally
every band loves Loudness, and they are the originals. They're from the 70s and early 80s. And we go in, and the music is really loud.
Loud,
but it's not a band. It's just the speakers are on.
The BGM,
and
the background music.
It's really loud, and Steve and I are about as far apart as you and I are right now, and I can't hear what we can't hear each other. So I just called the waitress over. I said, it's kind of loud. Can you turn this down? It was playing Loudness, the music, right? And she's like, I don't know. And then the manager came over and goes, what's the problem? And I said,
we problem
can't
here?
hear each other. What did you say? I said, what? Naniga? Dostano? What? Dostano? Which means, what happened? Huh? Dostano? Kikunai dakara. So, can you turn it down?
The loudness.
And say, sucking the teeth.
Can you turn down the loudness?
And then he left, and then I had to go back up to the manager. I'm like, seriously, can you turn it down? It's hurting my ears. What we found out was the bassist from Loudness was the special guest at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh.
And they were going to interview him on the radio. We're telling... It's a little loud. Can you turn it down in front of him?
In front of him.
Steve and I are
this
like,
music sucks. Who wrote this?
The bassist had a solo record. And, that's my favorite instrument to listen to for solo. Bass.
Bass and drums. That's all you need. Drums and bass.
Your vocalist quit?
You don't need a singer.
They were all looking at us like we're a-holes.
That's hilarious.
And then I happened to look. I'm like, what is the passive aggressiveness here? I mean, Fukuoka is very passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I just asked you 3 times. It's not that hard. Show me. Can I turn the music down? And so then I turned behind us, and there was a huge wall. It said, welcoming the bassist in Japanese
oops.
Of Loudness. And the bassist is sitting right there looking at us.
That's a good story for, Reddit. There's a subreddit called Am I the A-hole? That's a good story.
And then, so when we left, I apologized to the waitress and the manager and the bassist. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name now. And I said, I'm sorry, I just didn't understand. I didn't see the wall.
Yeah.
With your name
My
on
eyes
it
are
and
bad.
stuff. We're visitors here.
Yeah.
And then I said, by the way, to the manager, you think we could maybe do a comedy club next time we're here? And he's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I said, we could turn it down. No, but he turned us down. All right.
Ain't no bridge long enough that we can't burn.
Kind of loud. Kind of loud. What is this loudness? What is this loudness I'm hearing? And I knew the song, and I said,
Better not hum it. Jazz Rack will come for you.
Yeah, Steve and
I think they're parking outside right now.
Steve and I were criticizing it, and I don't know if the bassist, well, I think he knew what we were saying. He was really close to us, and I'm going, that's a ripoff of Ozzy Osbourne right there. That part. And he goes, yeah, that's Deep Purple. we both went to, that's Iron Maiden. They're ripping off. They don't have any original. Man, this band sucks. And what's with the loudness of this loudness?
To be fair, yeah, that's good.
You two a-holes, and we're the only foreigners.
Yeah, I know. To be fair, there are a lot of bands around the world in different languages that are ripping off American music and just packaging it in their language. And there's a couple of comedians that have been accused of that as well.
Yeah. I had a I had a student here that I had to school. The student said, I love music. It's my hobby, and I think I know a lot about music. And my favorite band, and I'm going to mess it up, I don't remember the name of the J-pop band. So he played it. I have to be careful humming it. Dun 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 dun. You Can Call Me Al. You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon.
Yeah.
Okay, 1988, 87, something like that. And I'm like, what's the name of this? What's the name of this J-pop band? And then they just changed it into a completely different song. And I said, what do you like about that song? He goes, I like the beginning. I said, well, the beginning isn't, they didn't write that.
There's actually a lot of that. I noticed that in the Konbini because I don't listen to J-pop, but in the Konbini, they're always playing J-pop. And sometimes you'll listen, you're like, hey, that sounds like, is that the song I think it is? And then it changes, and you're like, oh, I see what you did there.
Thank you, India. Don't get angry. Got a story about India very quickly. A lot of Bollywood songs start off with the band Europe, Final Countdown.
Oh, really?
We're going to lose 500,000.
No, it's fair because Europe screwed over India. Now they're getting Europe back.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's like the British. When I hear British complaining, there's like curry shops all over the place. Like, yeah, how did you see how it feels? You have fish and chip shops all over India.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Why do they play cricket over there? It's interesting.
See how you like it. Oh, these people from other countries are invading us, and they're just taking over the whole street. How do you like it?
Who did they learn that from?
I learned it from... How'd you learn to do drugs, Mike? I learned it from watching you, okay? Mike Miller.
Dad?
Yeah. I learned it from watching you. Why do you drink so much? I learned it from you, Dad. Mark Bailey, Mike Miller. Talk about it.